What's up? In today's video, I thought it would be pretty awesome to quiz my husband on some common investment terms. And this isn't to put him on the spot, but it's really just to see...
You were putting me on the spot.
It's really just to see, he's been around me for the last 6 years talking about all this investment stuff. And I know it can be really difficult for people to grasp different ideas in the investment world or different terms. And so I thought maybe him explaining things will make it simple for other people because he'll probably put it in a simple way, perhaps.
Oh, really?
No pressure. I'm just curious to see what he knows, what he doesn't know, and I have a feeling he's going to do pretty good with this. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling, I'm okay, but a little scared that I'll forget, especially with that thing shining on me.
And we did just share our portfolio, which he has been doing really good. Investing, he picked some really good stocks for our overall portfolio. I'm better at the index
She's
side.
deflecting. I just did what she said. That's what I did.
But he's doing really good. He's done really good for our family, so I love it. All right, well, before we get started, what's up? My name's Maggie. This is my husband, Carlos. We've been married for about we've been together 6 years, married for about 3 years. I teach beginners how to invest and feel confident in their financial life. Be sure to check out my services in the link below, and let's get started. Yes. All right, so I think the first term I want to say is just a basic, what is a stock?
A stock, as I understand it, is a piece of a company that either appreciates or depreciates with how good the company does. So
ding, ding,
I always remember the slice of the pie, and you own like a piece of the company. I own Apple, and however it does, I do.
Good job.
Ding ding, one
ding,
for
ding,
one.
Ding. Yes. Okay, so what's a bond?
A bond, the way I understand it, is just a loan from a corporation or a government, and typically pays out low percentage, but it is a very safe way to maintain your money. And again, the way I just see it is just a loan. A loan you give a corporation or the government.
Yeah, exactly. So if you loan them $1,000 for 2 years, at the end of the 2-year time frame, they'll give that money back to you. But between now and 2 years from now, they'll pay you some interest along the way for letting them use your money.
Yeah, I remember when we asked one family member, mm-hmm. and they got all convoluted about it, mm-hmm. and we were like, no, it's just a loan. It's just a loan. Like it doesn't have to be more complex than that, right?
Yeah. Yep. And people use them in their portfolio to help minimize some of the risk of investing purely in stocks. So on to our next term. What is a mutual fund?
A mutual fund. A mutual fund is a basket of stocks. You use that word often. Mm-hmm. If I didn't know that one. Basket of stocks. So like a group of stocks that a fund manager picks and he manages it. I'm doing good?
Yeah, you're doing
because
good.
you have the proud face on
yes.
you. So it's a basket of stocks that a fund manager picks, and then he manages it, and then typically they have a higher fee because you have somebody managing it for you.
Yes.
Correct?
Exactly. And I do have to point out that he said he managed the fund.
Oh,
there are women
I'm
that
so
do
sorry.
this.
I'm sorry.
But it is very, very,
yes.
very much more common that it is probably a guy, let's be honest, that's managing these. But
yeah, I shouldn't have said that because the only time I've ever had a mutual fund has been managed by a female.
Anyway, okay, on to the next one. Now that you described a mutual fund, what's an index fund?
So an index fund, the way I see it is a basket of stocks that also tracks one of the indexes. So for example, it's like the S&P 500. So if we buy an S&P ETF, I think it's the same number of the same companies in there, and it mirrors how the S&P does. So you can and I think an ETF, you can actually trade it like a stock. Is that right?
You can with an ETF. So
ETF.
You brought up ETF, and I asked, what's an index fund? So what's the difference?
Oh, poopy.
What's the difference between an index fund and an ETF?
Oh, crap. Isn't an index fund an ETF too? So an ETF is another basket of stocks. Should we start over?
No.
An index fund is a basket of stocks that's the one that can be traded like a stock.
Yes.
And then within an ETF, you have index funds, which mirror the actual index. So the SPY tracks the SPY index fund tracks the S&P. Presumably there's one that does the Russell, and there's one that does the Dow Jones, and all that stuff.
Yes. So that one is a really a tough one. And it took me a long time, and it still is kind of difficult to explain the difference between an ETF and an index fund, because they can be very similar. So an index fund literally has the same exact stocks that are in the index, like the S&P 500, like you said. And an ETF can have the same stocks that track an index, just like an index fund. So there could be an S&P 500 ETF and an S&P 500 index fund, and they're the exact same.
Really?
As far as investing goes. The difference is, like you said, an ETF can be bought and sold anytime during the day, whereas an index fund, everyone that buys it just buys it at the same price for that day. So it'll close at the end of the day. So you won't see it in your portfolio till after 4 p.m. because they take all the orders throughout the day and kind of price it based on how the stocks in that index performed. And it is getting into the weeds because...
Were you going to ask me was that one of the questions?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Well, I was going to ask the difference between an ETF and an index fund.
I would have failed.
Here's the thing. This is so unimportant when we're trying to determine the difference, or because they're so similar, it doesn't even matter. They're both awesome. So anyway... You did perfectly awesome. I would still give that a big win.
Like 1 point?
Yes.
Most of the point?
No, yeah. So on to another couple that are really important for investors to know.
Keep coming.
What is a portfolio?
Portfolio is just all your investments, like your whole book of investments. Just
Okay.
like your whole...
Exactly.
Yeah.
All your investments together in one is a portfolio.
And at first I think it's one of those where people get caught up in and myself included, it's like, portfolio, I don't know what a portfolio is. Like, can we just explain it normally? And it's just all your investments.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it sounds fancy, but it's really just all of your investments. Next, what's your asset allocation?
You're trying to get me on this one. That is how your whole portfolio is spread out. Your entire portfolio has assets, right? And so, I'm doing good?
You're doing good.
Okay, good. So your whole portfolio has all these assets, and then you choose, and this is a pie, so you choose what percentage of it goes into certain different spots. So you choose your allocation, you can allocate it into bonds, you can allocate it into stocks, and within the stocks, you can allocate it into small, medium, large cap, international,
So good.
emerging markets. Can I keep going? Am I done?
You're so good.
Okay. So it's just, allocation is just, the way I understand it, now that I know I'm right, is just how your investments are spread out.
Awesome. Okay, now on to account types. What's the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA?
Oh man, this is gonna be one of these because I should have researched this. Okay, I get confused, but traditional and Roth, they are both retirement accounts. One of them, I think the traditional one is the one that lowers your adjusted gross income.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And you pay tax on it when you take it out.
Yes, income tax.
Income tax. And the Roth IRA, you don't pay income tax on it when you take it out, but you pay tax on it now. In other words, it doesn't reduce your gross income.
Yeah, doesn't reduce your taxable income.
Your taxable income, I'm sorry. What else should I have
So
said?
then what happens in retirement when you take money out of a Roth?
When you take money out of a Roth, you don't pay income tax.
Ding, ding, ding. Good job. Okay, what's a brokerage account?
Brokerage account is just your stock account. Like
And what happens if you sell investments in your brokerage account?
you pay, depends.
Okay.
If you sell the stocks within a year, you pay income tax on the gains. If you sell them after a year, you pay capital gains.
Oh my God, my husband is an investing expert. Yes.
Learning from the best.
I am so excited for him because he has really, really come a long way. 5 years ago, he didn't really
I was scared.
know much about investing. He was investing in his 401k, so good job for that. But since then, he's learned so much. So the whole point is when you first start out, you're really not going to know a lot, and it is going to feel very overwhelming, but over time, you're going to become a genius like my husband.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, listen to this guy. He's so smart.
Oh, stop.
Carlos, thank you so much for joining me. You did so
my
good.
pleasure.
I'm very proud of you, and I appreciate you being a guest on my show. I mean, who wouldn't want to see this handsome face?
Oh, stop. I love coming on your show.
My husband is in the baseball industry, so
Yes.
it has nothing to do with investing except in players and all that stuff. So it's completely different worlds is what I'm saying. He is not in the finance world at all. So if somebody like that can learn, you can learn as well. And if you need any help, be sure to reach out. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.